Well, welcome back, guys. Okay, so just got back from a little walk here today, and so I got to look over here for the camera. The camera's right there. Is it? Yeah, yeah. Okay, my finger's going toward it. I don't know. So anyway, I just got back from a little walk, and it's a beautiful day out here. It was 19 degrees like 3 days ago, and now it's almost 85 degrees, and here in Colorado. Live in the southern area, up against the mountains. Um, and today we got a little project on our hands. So I'm here in my garage. If you can't tell, this is my humble little garage. Here's my little Z car. Yeah, she's in rough shape. She sat for about 15 years, and then I had to replace the injectors and a whole bunch of stuff on her and got her running again. But I can go over all that in another video. It's my little Triumph motorcycle back there. Some other debris and stuff. We did a lot of projects at the end of last summer, fall. And it was just kind of trying to get stuff done because I was working a job where I was working 60 hours. My wife was working a long time too. So the garage got trashed. We didn't really clean it up or organize the tools or anything afterwards. We just kind of let everything lay where it fell. Got a bunch of stuff to clean up in here and everything. I'm not going to worry about that today. What I am going to do is I'm going to go change for my walk because I still got my tank top on. Yeah, I'm going to go change, and then I'm going to come back out here. We'll get the Z and the motorcycle out of the way, and then from there, I'll go ahead and take you guys along with me for the journey of looking into this vehicle, and I'll explain why I do what I do as I go and do it. Today, we are going to be working on my little brother's minivan. It's got a dead battery and a dead alternator, apparently. So I'll explain how those work in conjunction and how one can typically wipe out the other and why they do that. Right now, it's sitting over here just behind and off camera in my rocks, and we're going to have to pull it into the garage to work on it where there's some shade. Do you guys want to go along with me? We'll go ahead and do this. But first, I got to move the motorcycle. I got to move the 280Z, move the truck, and get them all out of the way. And then I'll pull the van in. We're going to inspect it. We're going to jack it up. We're going to be taking a tire off and an inner fender well to be able to get to this alternator. I'll show you all about that. At least last I remember. Well, look, this is a 2017 Dodge Grand Caravan. The engine, you've got a 3.6 liter. It's a pretty decent van. It's pretty new, pretty decent. Dirty, it's been sitting for a while, so a year or longer. So we're going to check fluids and everything like that. Join me. We'll go and do this. I'm going to go grab some keys, and we'll get these guys out of the way. This is my Datsun 1979 280ZX. It's a pretty fun little car to drive, you know. She may not look like much right now, and when I get her all shined up and painted again, she will look pretty sweet. But yeah, this is a little battery maintainer, not a charger, not a jump starter, just a maintainer. Just does what's called a trickle charge, and I use it to trickle charge the Z and the battery. And I got one over here that's charging up the battery for the lawnmower and my little Saturn car that I have parked away for the winter. What that does is it keeps the batteries juiced up, so that way the winter cold doesn't destroy them. That's pretty much why I put them on trickle charges, because I don't like buying new batteries every year. So for things that are going to sit around, it's a good idea to do. These only cost like maybe 15, 20 bucks at O'Reilly's, and I got two of them, and you know, they both come with simple little diodes. They'll show you when it's on, if it's charging, and also even tell you if you have a bad battery. That's not always the case, though. Sometimes, you know, it'll go, I think this battery's bad. Take it off and put it back on, and it'll try again. And sometimes you can get it to get a charge, and this will charge a battery back up very slowly over a course of time. So it's not going to be like a jump charger or anything like that. Anyway, these chargers, they come with two hookups. So you got your negative and your positive. So you got one, and you can plug in two different batteries or two different vehicles kind of deal. So got plenty of room. You just plug it into a normal AC housing outlet, 110 or 115 and volt, and you're good to go. So I'm going to set this out of the way. All right, guys, we are going to go ahead. I got the other vehicles out of here, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to see if I can get this thing fired up and pulled into here. It's going to take a minute. I'm going to show you what I have to do later. It's just going to take some stuff. I'll probably take you over there with me and show you what I'm thinking about doing here. So we'll try some things, see what we can do to get it to work. Okay, what we got going on is we need to start this up. alternator isn't working, battery is dead. How are we going to fire this up? How did I open this? Okay, well, I opened that up by opening the door and opening the hood, but the electronic clicker doesn't work, but there's a little key hidden inside the, here, there's a little noticeable thing that should separate right there, right? Okay, so on the other side, right here where my finger's pointing, is a little switch. So what you're going to do is you're going to push this switch that way, and then this little part back here comes loose, and you got your key. That's how you can get in the door, okay, if the power goes out. Now, if you want a DeLorean, I don't know what to tell you. We got in, we got the hood popped. So now we need to start this guy up so we can move it into the garage so I can get to that alternator, right? Because the front passenger tire has to come off in the inner fender well, it's above the tire. I'll show you guys that here in a minute. So what do we do? And forgive me if there's people out there that actually, you know, were mechanics or have a mechanical inclination. My intent is not to bore you. My intent is just to help those out that maybe a little apprehensive about you know, doing stuff on their own vehicle. So I'm just going to walk you through this and make you feel safe about it, and just show you that it's no big deal, really. I mean, it can be a big deal, and things can blow up in your face and go wrong. But as long as you follow some general safety stuff, then you should be fine. Keep in mind that I am an idiot. Even though I used to do this professionally, I am an idiot. So don't try to do things that I'm doing. You know, try to do things for yourself. Go ahead out and try to do small things on your vehicle, you know, and go from there. Learn little bits at a time. You're not going to learn all of this overnight, okay? It takes the good mechanics, you know, close to a decade to learn a lot of the intricacies to a lot of the inner workings of an engine and things like that. But some of the basic stuff, like this electrical, pretty sweet and simple. How do we get this fired up? Well, like I was saying, this is cold cranking amps. That's what we need to fire the vehicle up. And then if the alternator isn't working, this will provide enough electricity to the spark plugs, if it's a good battery, to let it run for just a little bit. Now, if you have a battery light that comes on in your vehicle, older vehicles were like this. If the alternator died, you have battery power, and it would allow you to get to the next exit or to a safe pull-off spot. But if it happened at night, you got even shorter amount of time because you're running lights so you can see. Yeah, anything that draws power is going to drain this real quick. So you want to shut all that off and just try to find a safe spot to pull over. That's the extent of it. Like if suddenly the steering gets hard to steer on your vehicle, that's because the belt that drives all of those accessories has snapped and popped off of there. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to put a new battery in here. That'll at least get us over there, because it's easier to just put a battery in there so I can get into a garage and off the rocks that I'm on right now and into a nice concrete shaded surface area where I can go ahead and then comfortably get the alternator out and have a safe, solid surface to jack the vehicle up, be able to take the front tire off and do the work, right? I'm going to show you the tools you need to do this. And we'll start that here and get to a little bit quieter area inside the garage. I'm going to show you the tools that you're going to need to do this, okay? Other different batteries are going to be different, but the basic components are all the same, okay? You're just going to have something that tightens down the clamp to the battery post, okay? And then you're going to have that on both sides, and it's going to be generally the same, depending on what kind of battery it is. Now, there's going to be top posts, okay? And there's going to be side posts, and then there's going to be, the bolt is on the cable itself, and that screws into the battery, okay? And those are all different ways, but they're all the same. What you're going to do, you're going to disconnect the negative first, the ground, okay? As far as what we're going to do here, we're going to need a 10 millimeter socket. How do I know that? Because I've been doing this a while and I can just tell. And then down here is a hold down. So you're going to have different type of hold downs for batteries, okay? This is just this little clamp wedge thing. I'll show you when I get it off of here. And that's held down by a 13 millimeter bolt. So we're going to take that loose, and you can take the hold down off at any time. Sometimes you have to, just to be able to get these off of there too. Now, some of the newer cars are going to be way more intricate. They're going to have stuff on top, and fuse boxes on top. This one, the fuse box is sitting aside of it, and you're going to have other components plugged onto the thing. So this one, pretty straightforward and simple, okay? That's why I like to buy vehicles that are just simple. You know, I don't need the complications because I like to work on things myself. Here's what you need. You're going to need, for this, because of the battery, that's the bolt right there. So look at the height. You want to have plenty of room because you don't want to turn this around where it's going to touch a positive, whether that battery is dead or not. You don't want to do that. If you can touch the ground all day long, you're really not going to cause too many problems. But if you start touching that that positive and ground it out right there, you're going to cause a big problem. A lot of arcing, a lot of electricity, a lot of shocks. So what you're going to want to do is get yourself, this is what's called a 6-inch extension, or I'm sorry, 12-inch extension. Then you got 6 inches, and then you have 3-inch extensions, okay? This is just a 13mm socket. There's varying types of sockets. If you want to know more about those, ask away in the comments. I'll explain everything you want to know. And this is just a 3/8 drive ratchet. 3/8 meaning it's just this size of this square right there, okay? You have 1/4 inch, which is smaller than this, then you have the 3/8, and then you have 1/2 inch drive, okay? But the components that plug onto this relatively need to be the same. But as soon as you find a 3/8 drive for that and an extension, you can, there are extensions or little adapters that can either bump this size up, so you can plug it onto here and it'll become a 1/2 inch, or you can plug it on here and it'll become a 1/4 inch. So I can show you some of those too. Aside from that, this has just got a swivel head on it, so I got different angles with my handle, and it's a very long one, so I got a lot of leverage, so I have a lot of torque, okay? Now this button on the back, there's 2 buttons on the back of some of these. Some will just only have a switcher, and all that's going to do is switch the direction of the ratchet. So if I put it on here, notice it doesn't want to go down all the way onto there. That's because there is this little ball right there. I will turn that so you can see it. This little ball, when I push this button, releases that little ball. I don't know if you can see how that works. So you can see that ball drop down in there when I push the button. And all that's doing is on sockets, so you don't lose a socket in an engine, you line that ball up with that little hole, and it holds onto that socket until you press that button. So they will go, and when it doesn't have a button, you got a little part like that. Same thing, okay? That's spring loaded, so is this. So now it doesn't really matter because there's no hole here, so I'm just going to plug it in any old place. But it's locked in there until I press that button, and then it comes out, okay? All right, so again, this switches the direction. I'm going to switch it the other way. It's pretty worn out. I need to get a new one eventually. So lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, okay? So by what I mean by that is counterclockwise. If you're turning the left, you're loosening it like I just did. You switch directions, go the other direction, go right, you're going to tighten it, okay? Don't get that confused. So we'll take this bracket loose first, so the battery's loose. And when it gets loose enough, that bolt gets loose enough, and the ratchet just, you know, doesn't seem to want to ratchet anymore or anything, you can take that off. Then you can just do that. It's actually not too difficult, okay? And the more looser it gets, the easier it gets to just turn by fingers. A lot of bolts can be like that. Then there's going to be some tough ones that are rusted or corroded or, you know, stripped or whatever's going on with them. They're going to be a pain in the butt to get out. But this one's relatively good, so I'll probably clean it up a little bit before I put it back in. See how it's twirling real quick? That tells me I'm right there at the end, and there it is. This is the bolt that was in there, 13mm. Okay, pretty long bolt. Why is it so long? It's because this little wedge here, and what that does is this sits down on the battery, and it sits down so it clamps the bottom lip of the battery, and then there's lips on the back side of the battery that this slides into. So the battery slides into those back clips, and this one goes on the front and holds that battery in place, and it don't go nowhere. Okay, it's in this little tray. So this bolt goes through here and goes into a nut down there, and it tightens it down, and that's as simple as that. So, and you see how it's got this elongated slot on it like this? It's so that you can place this wherever you need it. Place it to get it to tighten down, okay? It adapts to different battery sizes. So this, I'm gonna set out of the way. And then we're gonna take this tool and we're gonna go ahead and set it out of the way. The next tool, this is called a ratchet wrench. An open-ended wrench with a closed end. And this is 12 point. They have 6 point and so on. Now what this is going to do is allow you to grab different spots. If I can turn it just little increments with a 12 point, okay? With a 6 point, you're gonna have to, and sometimes there's stuff in the way and you can't, you know, so they give you 12 points so that way you can fine tune it. It also has a little switch trigger on it too to help reverse direction. Some wrenches don't have this, but they're still ratcheting. All you have to do is flip it over, okay? And I could even do that with this. So I can flip it this way and still do it that way, or I can flip it like this and then do the other direction, okay? Again, you got positive and negative. How do you tell which is which? Generally speaking, they're gonna mark them pretty clearly. The negative cable is gonna be black. the positive cable is going to be red, okay? And that's synonymous with the battery, with alternator, with the starter, with most things, okay? Some manufacturers do it differently around the world with different vehicles, and over time, different eras and decades, years of cars and vehicles and motorcycles are going to all have their different quirks to it, but generally it's all the same. Now, this one is actually marked very well, very clearly, okay? On the battery itself, it's marked positive right here. And then on the cable is also got a little plus sign on it, okay? Plus is positive. The little line dash is negative, okay? So you got your negative side, negative cable, that's black. You got your positive side, positive cable, that is red. We're going to take off the negative first. Even though there's no power, we're just going to keep doing this in practice, because if you keep doing this, it becomes autopilot and you don't have to worry about it. All it takes is a little bit. You just need to loosen it until it does that. Slide it right off the post. Now kind of turn and set this sucker way out of the way. The engine's hot. Be careful what it's going against so it doesn't melt, okay? Because some components on the engine are still hot and it will melt those cables. But you just want these out of the way so when you pull the battery out, they don't flick back inward or something. And you certainly want to practice this as well so that it doesn't come in contact with something and cause an arc. There's no electricity in here right now. In fact, I will show you. This is the negative and the positive. You should never, ever touch these together. Because why? I'm an idiot, okay? Got my rubber gloves on. I'm touching them with a hand. I'm fine. Now I touch them together. No, I'm just kidding. Nothing's happening. So there is a science. If you do touch those together, I'll tell you about on another video. If you got questions about that, I'll tell you. But we're going to set those aside for now. I'm going to tuck them out of the way. So now this battery is going to come out, and we're going to get the new battery. Now, when you go lifting these things out, they're very heavy and awkward. If you have a bad back like me, that you'll see in another video I'll put out here, if I haven't already, there's ways that you want to lift. You want to get your body supported, get a little bit of a wide stance and bend the knees, and then support your torso on something. And you're going to use your arms mainly, and you don't want to use your lower back, okay? Tighten your abs, and you're going to wiggle that battery to get it out from that lip, pull it up, set it down, get yourself comfortable again, and then you can lift it. These handles are only meant for that little part right there. Don't carry a battery by those flimsy handles. Get a good grip on it like this and keep it close to your torso, okay? Unless it's got acid all over it, but it's going to eat through your clothes. So always wear gloves. All right. And do not set it on concrete. Just set it somewhere out of the way in the shade, which we will do right now, which this battery is dead anyway, so I will set it on the concrete. That is one of the heaviest batteries that I've encountered in a long time. My little brother has gotten the parts for us already. He set them in the front passenger seat here, so I'm going to go ahead and get out the new battery, which has a much more stout handle. That is fantastic. Here's the difference in good handles versus bad handles. So again, we're going to get ourselves positioned. All right. And always watch your fingers. I'm going to grab this handle now. Let it sit down in there. Now you want to kind of get it centered in its little box, and then you can just slide it right back in, and now it's under that lip. So if I try to pull up here, it doesn't really want to do that because it's under that lip. Now we just reverse the order. This is just a protective cap to make sure that nothing arcs off the battery, okay? Negative, you can touch that all day long, it's not gonna do anything, okay? Positive is gonna charge, yeah, it's gonna, make it a charge. And for some reason, you're now doing this, where you got a Q scanner, where you can go ahead and scan that, and it may give you tips and tricks and stuff like that, or warranty information on the battery, or it may tell you about the battery on how many amps and voltage and all that it is. So, all right, so now we're going to take our bolt again, and you can do this in any order. You can hook up the battery first or put the clamp on. Like I said, different vehicles are going to be set up differently, so you may have to do one before the other. We're going to fit this clamp right down on there. I'll go ahead and see if I can show you guys what I'm talking about here. I'll get you a little closer to this action. Okay, so down in here, this is the wedge, okay? You can see this little box that it sits in. And I don't know if you can see on the back side there, you can kind of see down there, there's that lip that the battery is sitting under right now. So now back over here, I'm going to take this, I'm going to stick the bolt all the way out, and I'm going to line it up into that hole right there. Sorry, I'm trying to finagle things here. First time doing this, so bear with me. So stick the bolt all the way out, and that way you can make sure it goes right there. You drop it down, Gonna give it a little wiggle, make sure it's in place. Then you always start bolts by hand. Wiggle them around, do what you gotta do to get them start turning in there, because you don't want to cross thread something. What does that mean? Well, I can tell you that here in a minute. But for now, I got it started by hand. So now we're gonna get our wrench and we're gonna tighten that down. Another question is, well, how tight should you make that? Well, I'll show you. Now, you can get out a torque wrench and you can do it to spec on every part of your vehicle, because there's specifications on how tight every bolt on your vehicle should be. And then there's just a general knowledge thing on how tight just an overall body panel bolt should be, or an air filter bolt should be. So it's general across the board. So again, we can go ahead and start by hand with this extension. See how I'm just turning with just one hand? When it starts to become difficult and tough, I'll plug in the ratchet, okay? So cross threading, there we go, it's getting snug. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug this on. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this down. It's getting windy, so I don't know how well this microphone's working. Guess we'll find out. Just gonna keep turning away. Turn and turn and turn. Okay, it's still seated in its proper spot. Looking pretty good. Looks like it's easy right now, right? No, I can tell you right now that if I were to take this ratchet off and try to do it by hand, it would be tough. Now it's starting to get tight, right? So it's starting to slow down. So you can see my finger, I'm trying to push and I'm having to apply a lot of pressure. So you just want to give it a little, like right about where it stops, and just boom, okay? Because that will cause threads to be pulled out. Careful where you set your tools. You don't want to arc that off, so you can set them out of the way. So what do I mean by cross threading? Okay, so if you have threads that are angled like this and you put a bolt in that also has threads on it, and they're supposed to line up and they're supposed to go like this, right? So it's supposed to, you know, as it screws down, it's just going to grab each thread. I'll wait for the wind to pass because it's, you know, wind. So anyway, that's how it's normally supposed to work. If it's cross-threaded, what's going to happen is it's going to try to crawl over these other threads like that, and it's going to cross-thread, okay, but on multiple, okay, and that's bad because now that's created a new pathway for the thread on the bolt to try to drive down into. So now you're going to have to get what's called a thread cleaner out and clean those threads up and hopefully salvage that. What do I mean about pulling threads? Well, as you are screwing in the bolt, and it gets down to a point where it's really causing some tension because the head of the bolt is now hitting the top of whatever's there. So it's stopping, but you're pulling on the thread still, and the threads are like pulling like this. Well, you can only get to a certain point before it just gives way and metal will fracture, and either the bolts threads or the threads in the nut or wherever it's going into, and especially if it's an engine or part of an engine block, you don't want to be doing that. It's going to pull those threads apart, okay? Then you got another scenario that you got to face. It can be fixable, but it takes a lot of work, and sometimes it's not fixable, and you have a dead motor or dead car. So we're going to put the positive on here. You just want to get it all squared up and get it lined up properly. Make sure it's snug on there. And go ahead and tighten that down. Now it doesn't want to turn like that, right? So I can just go to the opened end and just turn it until it gets tight, and then I can use my ratchet. So that's good right there. Wiggle it. It's nice and snug. You don't want to over tighten that either. Okay, so as soon as I do this, be prepared that on some vehicles, have that key standing by because it may start the panic thing. Okay, just depends on what's going on with the vehicle. We're going to go ahead and plug this on, and this has got 800 cold cranking amps, so hopefully it's enough. Okay, we're going to stick that on there. Make sure it's all lined up. Now we kind of want to move with a purpose because we've got limited time with power, and I don't know if this thing has what's called a parasitic draw or not. We're going to gather up our tools and everything that was here, double check our double checks, make sure nothing's loose, and then we're going to go ahead and fire this guy up and get him into the garage, and we'll do the alternator. I'll see you guys in there. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take this off. We need to get the correct size socket for the lug nuts here, and then this whole inner fender well is going to have to come out of here. So Got to jack it up, pop the hood, jack it up, take the tire off, and start working on the inner fender well. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and jack this car up. Okay, so we got our jack. Okay, so we got the hood open, we got the new battery in there. Before I jack it up, what I'm going to do, and what you should always do when you're working on a vehicle, is you're going to want to disconnect the battery, okay? Some people just take the negative off. Some people don't bother at all, and I'd rather be safe than sorry. There's a couple times that I've been tired and working long hours, and then I forgot to do this one simple thing, and it caused me more problems down the road. So that's your negative. This is your positive. We're going to disconnect that one first, and then this one, and get them both tucked out of the way, so that way there's no power to the vehicle. So that way when I take off an alternator that is connected to this, I don't have a shocking experience. That's all we need. Oh, negative first. We'll set that to loosen. Set that to loosen. I'm going to tuck that guy back out of the way down there in the positive. I'm going to take that. I'm going to tuck it out of the way too. Why? Because I don't want them. They generally want to form their own natural shape. So if I were to bring this back up, it kind of wants, some of these get so stiff, they'll fling right back onto that post. And then if you're down there working, didn't know it made contact, then it's not going to be fun. So those are disconnected. There's nothing going on there. You don't need to put anything to protect if you don't want, but you can. So that's that. So now we're going to go jack up the car. Simple as that, okay? You're going to push it under there, and when you get it under there, jack it up a little bit and get it close to where it's going to start jacking up the vehicle, and just line everything up exactly how you want it, okay? And that's what I'm going to do here. You got your piece of wood, and you just don't want to crumple up things under the car with these little ledges here and these little stick outs. And so you're going to put this wood over it to protect it. And all we're going to do is slide that under there, and then we're going to start jacking it up. All right, so you basically want to get it under a good solid point. So that looks like that, and it's not going to be in the way of what we're doing. So I'm going to do that right there. I'm going to get this armature back out so I can actually jack it up. So got about half an inch off the ground here. Do a little bit more. We're just going to hang out right there, okay? Let's take the 19 mil. Is actually our winner, so we don't need the 21. Doesn't matter in what order you take them off. Okay, simple as that. Disconnect our hose, throw it out of the way, and you can take the sockets and the gun and go put them up. Now I'll put my lug nuts in here as well, so I don't lose those in my little roll cart there. And now, take our tire, and we'll roll it out of our way. Anywhere in particular, don't really matter. Yeah, something's made a home up there. So I'm going to be careful when I take this fender well out, because I don't want to piss it off. So, what we got? Got a Phillips screwdriver, okay? And you're going to have little pry tools to pop out those push pins, and I'll show you about. And these are for a different type if we encounter those, and I'll show you those. So, problem here is instead of doing a bolt, they did the Phillips screwdriver. And what that has done is given an area for mud and salts and debris to pile into. So now we call out our trusty pocket screwdriver. So these are cool. There's a little flat blade pocket screwdriver with a little magnet on the end. The magnet, it's a pretty powerful magnet, okay? This you can use kind of clean out the debris in there, so you can get your screwdriver in there and just work it around, just get that crud out of there best that you can. So take that guy out, lay it up to the side. That guy had no debris, so that's awesome. We'll just take that out, lay it to the side. We're gonna keep our eye out for Mr. Spider, wherever he's at or she's at. Pretty sure it's a Black Widow. Not liking that idea. These were the little screws that I was talking about. You can see how stuff will get jammed in there and you have to clean it out. And they went right here and here. And then there's nothing else. And then over here, it went there and there. So now I need to get that push pin out. And then there's one there and one there. And then there's one down there. So all 5 of those have to come out. And then this whole plastic part here that's around the shock, you can see how it comes up around the shock and just wedges itself under the plastic or metal lip here. And then this will all kind of come out and come out of the way, and we'll put it over there. But then there's this other piece here that is separate from that shebang that has different fasteners that we'll have to worry about. So this is what your brakes look like if you don't drive the vehicle for a year. But once you start driving down the road, that will clean up a little bit. They're not grooved or pitted or really in bad shape at all. They just got some surface rust on it. That'll come off because these discs act like sandpaper. So the discs themselves, or the pads, I should say, are looking pretty decent. So front brakes do 70% of the braking, rear does 30. So you want these to be definitely in good shape, because then you're not stopping too good. So the trick is try to get this wedged behind it in some fashion and pop it loose without tearing it apart. Can you do that? Yes. Does it ever happen? No, but we'll try. And I have extras laying around just in case, and you can go down and get Dorman ones down at the auto parts store, and they got them by the boxes for just such an occasion. Put a jack stand under here, keep it more solid and more safer. More safer? More, is that a word? More safer? Safer more? Evermore? Nevermore? Sepher, yeah, Raven thing, yeah. Nevermore, safer more. I know. Edgar Allan Poe. Yes, I know. Quote the Raven, nevermore. Safer more. More safer? I got 1.5 out of 5. Okay, so those are the ends, and that's typically what happens. Okay, so just to show you here real quick, this little end right there that popped off is supposed to look like this. Okay, and that's how they're supposed to come out. But you can see what a kind of a ribbed, prickly thing they are to try to get out, and then they put this very flimsy top on it. So pain in the butt to get out, and they're very unlikely that you're ever going to salvage these. So here's half of another one. So this I could probably still use. I could probably still use this one, but I'd rather put the push ones back in. So we'll see about those later. But in theory, I have all the nuts and bolts out of this, so it should just come out once you get it unwedged from its little areas. And again, we'll be watching for Mr. Black Widow there. They're probably going to be pretty upset that I'm opening up their house. Yeah, something's been going to town up there. A lot of sticky looking webbing. Don't like that. All right, so that is the inner fender well. It sits up in there like that. Okay, so that's essentially what it looks like. All right, here's the back side of it. All right, so it's just this plastic molded dome fixture that goes over the tire, and we will do just that and stick it over the tire over here. Oh, good, more push pins. Yay. Oh, and then 10mm bolts. Okay, well, why couldn't you do that everywhere? So there's just 2 bolts there, one here, and then that's not attached, and then it's just that one there. Okay, that's pretty dang simple. Yeah. Just a splash sealed to keep a lot of water and debris off the alternator. See, that's another thing that bugs me is when they put the alternator on the bottom of the vehicle like that, it's picking up all the crap off the road, and it just kills an alternator like that. It'll be all right. That's most vehicle designers, that's what they do. They just, you know, they just send crap out into the world and they're like, well, we'll make them the test dummies, you know, and see if it fails on them. If we get a percentage of cars that come back with, you know, the same kind of problem, then we know what to fix, right? Send them out. But we know right now this is bad. We're not going to make money that way. Send it out. So this is a 3/8 drive impact gun. Just helps get things done quicker. That's all it is. It's just the name of the game is speed. Get it done quicker, you make more money, right? Well, I'm past those days, but I still just want to get this done. So we're going to pop that on there like that. Make sure it's on loosen. Okay. 110mm nut. So very close. Oh my word. I got it. It's beat the hell, but I got it. So the trick there is you got this guy. Slide my crotch towards the camera. That's pleasant, Sean. Okay, so you got this guy here, and then you got this guy here. What I'm doing is I'm using one or the other can get under there, and I use the other one to either back up the other one, because this is going to come around the diameter of this guy on the top there and support it a lot better, right? And then this guy is going to apply the angle and the force and the wedge power that you need to do. And combined, you can kind of just dangle it out there and give it a little pull and it'll pop. So put that up there. Those are done for now. We'll get this other bolt out of there. That's how that's going to go. All right, guys. So I'm at a good standpoint right now. I'm going to go ahead and pause for the evening. It's getting a little late, despite the amount of sunshine that's blasting in here. I'm getting pretty hungry, and my back's starting getting kind of sore. So this isn't a job necessarily that I need to get this done right away. So I'm going to go ahead and pause for tonight and close everything down. Plus, all my camera stuff, all the batteries are dying, so I need to charge them up, because I'm new to this and I can't be as quick at it as I'd like to be. So I'm going to go ahead and shut it down for the night. I'll come back and we'll start again tomorrow morning, and we'll start the process of actually just taking out the alternator and replacing it. Okay. And yeah, catch you guys then. Well, good morning. 1 second. It's the next day. Green tea's good. I caught in my footage that I was pretty dehydrated, tired, standing in the sun, not thinking clearly, and trying to talk to you guys and doing all this for the first time, all this videoing stuff. So I've never actually had to be a mechanic and explain what I'm doing. So trying to translate the gobbledygook in here to get it out to the gobbledygook here that's easier for everybody to understand out there. It's a bit of a challenge, kind of a fun one in a way, but also makes me feel like I look kind of like an idiot sometimes, which I am. Don't get me wrong, I'm an idiot, but even more so than I thought I was. You know, I thought I came across okay, but you know, searching for words like gobbledygook. I grew up on Looney Tunes and like Leslie Nielsen from The Naked Gun, things like that, where you try to stay straight faced. Surely you can't be serious. I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. You know, things like that. Doctor, there's a problem in the cockpit. The cockpit? What is it? Well, it's the front of the plane where the pilot sits. And well, that's not important right now. What, you know, little side, you know, Monty Python kind of jokes like that. So there's some dry humor and stuff like that. And I'm going to try to incorporate some more humor. Okay, so we're going to crawl under this thing now, and we're going to look. I'm going to get some safety goggles on because I don't like dirt getting in my eyes, because the dirt gets in between my contacts. So it looks like this. Like you got the curvature of your eyeball, you got the curvature of your contact being just nice, you know. And then you get like something like an eyelash that gets in between there, and then that's not fun. You get dirt in between your contact and your eyeball. That ain't fun either, or just dirt in your eyes in general. It tends to make me very violent. It's not a fun feeling. I'm so sick of that feeling in my life. It's just certain little things that everybody has that irritates them. So anyway, we're going to crawl into the vehicle now. Okay, so here we are under the engine. And what we got going on is we have the AC compressor, which is this guy right here. And here's your serpentine belt, okay, on the AC compressor pulley. And just above that, this pulley right here and this unit right here, this is your alternator, okay? This is what we were after, okay? So we have to take off the belt. We're going to have to unplug the AC compressor, and then we will have to detach some of the wiring here. So like this is a clip we could pop off. See how loose that is, and it just pops right off. So we'll pop that off of there, and we'll pull it off the bolt back here so the wiring's free and loose, and we can move it out of our way. And then these are the refrigerant lines here, and this one here. And so that's these two lines right here. We are not going to disturb them as much as possible, but looks like they're nice and flexible right here, whereas these parts are solid. So this flexible part will allow us to kind of swing this out of the way to get to the alternator. We're also going to have lines like this in our way. This is probably an oil cooler line that runs up to the front of the engine, or coolant line. It's pretty solid in there with a good bracket, but there's a bolt right here we could take loose to move that around if we needed to. But there's plenty of room right here that I think we can make this happen. So you got these hoses in the way. I'm thinking that I can probably finagle this AC compressor out of the way to get the alternator. So I've done some fun ones before, so we'll see what we can do. And then also, you got the alternator up here. It's probably going to have some hidden bolts once we get the AC out of the way. But it looks like there's just two nuts with on the studs up there that's holding on the alternator. And then you got the plug-ins back here on this side of the alternator, which is just a simple clip here. And then you have something that's going to be a nut right back up here. I can kind of see. I don't know if you guys can see that. So first things first, we got to get the belt off. So you can see here. So this is kind of how this works, okay? So here's the AC compressor. Here's looking at it from the side from the tire, okay? So here's the AC compressor. This is your crank pulley, okay? And this is your tension pulley. So you can see how I said it's bolted in. It has this armature that goes out to this wheel. Notice how that wheel's flat. And then some of these have this groove in it. I don't know if you can see. You see where that belt has a groove? On one side it's going to be grooved, and the other side's going to be smooth. And it uses both sides. And it's one belt that goes all the way through all this stuff here. And it comes, here's an idler pulley right here. Okay. And the alternator is right here. So here's another view of the alternator. So also, maybe if I drop that AC compressor down a little bit, I could probably squeeze the alternator out this way maybe. So I'll loosen that bracket and the bolt right there, maybe give me some play to be able to get it out this way. We'll see, but I like how this hose is flexible. This one's flexible right here. This is radiator hose as well. And it looks like that's the water pump right here. That's not an idler pulley. This right here, that's the water pump, because these hoses that come out of here, this big one especially, goes to the bottom of the radiator, okay? And there's going to be another one on top. So that's a coolant hose, and since this hose also plugs into that same area, that's also going to be coolant, okay? So it goes across and goes over there. I imagine that may go to a heater core, something like that, okay? Heater core is like a mini radiator that's in between the engine and your dashboard there somewhere, where it is inside, and it is like a mini radiator that the wind blows through and either picks up heat or cool, okay? So both this and the refrigerant lines from the AC are going to run down and around. You can see them there. They're going to all go meet both back at the heater core, back up in there somewhere inside the vehicle, and they're going to make you comfortable. So anyway, back to this belt we have to take off. The auto tensioner has a 3/8 drive square right there, right? So there's several different tools we can use to do this, and we want to get a lot of leverage. So, and it looks like it can't go any more this direction. Looks like we can only bend it that direction to loosen it. So we're going to get something on there that drops down right here, okay? And then we're going to try to bend it this way take the tension off of the belt, and then we can just slip the belt, because this is a smooth pulley, and see how it's like embedded in this pulley. We're going to slip it off of this one so it loses tension everywhere. We could even slip it off of the water pump pulley because it's a smooth pulley. And then that way we can do this. But first things first, we're going to take a picture and we're going to make sure that we know how this is going to run when we go to put it back on. So now I can apply a lot of torque. So I know you guys can see in this camera, this handle's almost touching the ground kind of deal. So now I can easily bend that out of the way. Okay. I'm not going to get my fingers in a point where this is going to snap back and take out my finger. I'm going to take that belt off. While I'm still holding this bar, I'm just going to take that belt off there and get it kind of out of the way. So now I can release this and let it come back. And boom, there's a point where it actually stops. And then can, boom. Take note of where it stops, because sometimes it may be a situation where it's not applying tension like it should be anymore. So I don't know if you guys can see here. I am trying to finagle the belt out. I know it's probably pretty shaky camera work, and you guys are like, you're making me nauseous, and I'm sorry, but okay. So that's the serpentine belt. To inspect the belt here in a second, but okay, you can see this idler pulley right here. I'm going to spin it, and I'm going to keep my finger on it while I spin it too. No grinding, seems to spin pretty freely. I think that's all right. This is your water pump. Just want to make sure that's turning. No grinding, we're good there. AC compressor, just want to give it a little wiggle. Really nice and free and loose. Alternator. It doesn't really want to spin as freely as it should, so that tells me something right there, right? Now the pulley on the tensioner. Yeah, no grinding, perfect. Power steering pump. Just go back and forth just a little bit because you don't want to go pumping stuff. It actually is pretty good. Now the power steering pump is going to have some pressure on it and the water pump, because they're pumps and there's fluid around them right there. So as you're turning that, it's trying to pump one way or the other. But you can tell, like, if there's no grinding and stuff like that, you should be good. If it's not making a racket, screeching or screaming when you start up the vehicle, which we have done, and then you should be okay. For now, I'm going to go ahead and turn this flashlight off. Here's what I typically do with the belt. The belt just hangs on a mirror, okay? Can't lose it that way. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and pull off the AC compressor. So give me a minute. I got to grab some tools for that. Okay, so always try to bring the tools you think you're going to need, so that way you don't have to get up and down as much. I'm going to push that out of the way because we don't need that right now. Put my glasses back on. Start this guy back up. All right. So I got a 13, 14, and 15 millimeter socket. I have my 3H long handled drive ratchet. I also have my little 1/4 inch ratchet. Okay. The guy looks like this. Little tiny little 1/4 inch little cute guy. Also has a button and a switcher on the back. And I got a 10 millimeter. Why did I get this? Because I think on most alternators, you're going to either have a 10, typically a 10, or 13 millimeter nut that holds on one of the main power cables onto the back of the alternator on most alternators. So I brought that just in case. And then I got my 3 sockets, I got my ratchet, I got my flashlight, I got my cameras, got my goggles on, got my gloves on, got my allergies raging. Now I'm going to point this up here, and I'm thinking I might just do this. I think that might be a good view for you guys. Look straight up at what I'm doing. We're going to do everything with a ratchet because I cannot fit my gun in here, and my air ratchet is, it is brutal. What it likes to do is it likes to not stop. So after it tries to break something loose, it'll smash your hand into things, and I don't feel like racking my knuckles. So these little clips right here, you got this little red thing. You push on one side and pull on the other, and they typically release, or they're supposed to. And that's what you need a pocket screwdriver for, so they got to get back up. Because it's probably got debris and other stuff going on with it. It's dumb because it's like, if it clips, okay, you see how it popped up there? So I'll kind of get you guys closer here, see if you can see what I'm seeing. So you can see how that red clip kind of sits in there. And I had to pull it up to unlock it. So then we're going to press on this tab right here and then pull this out. Okay. There's a lot of different clips out there, but they're generally all the same. They're going to have a safety lock and a point to press and pull. Okay. There's other clips out there, and I'll show you those as we go along. Okay. So for now, I'm going to pinch that, and that comes right off. Okay. So we got that up and out of the way. You also want to check inside here, make sure there's no corrosion from water intrusion or oil or anything like that. So now I'm going to push this off of the line there. So I've got even more flexibility. And then I'm going to pull it off of this stud back here. Which does not want to happen. Yeah, so I'm going to start with a 13. And right on the money. Push the other two aside. Get my socket ready to go. Make sure it's on the thing where it doesn't fall off into my face or the camera. And this is all we're going to do. Breaks loose. So another thing too. When you guys go to loosen something, you can put your hand on it, feet on the back of your hand. Okay. Just that simple, and it breaks loose. And then you can apply force. Because if you try to apply too much force with just your arm, you can start damaging your elbow and your wrist, and especially your shoulder. And then that's not going to be a fun rest of your life. So now I'm going to try to support this thing. And I was hoping by loosening that up, it would loosen, yeah, like on this nut, it's not putting pressure on it anymore, so I can turn it out by finger. But this one, I still need to ratchet a little bit more. Okay, that's the point comes out there. So here's this bolt, pretty long, right? Also, bolts you take out, keep track, because this one may be longer than this side. So you want to keep track which one went where if they're different lengths, okay? So keep that in mind, because you don't want to go putting one back in that's too long for the short passage and then punch through into the engine block or other various things. So be very careful about that. So these studs have a special kind of point on the end of them where you can pull these studs out. So I'm going to go get my special socket and see if I can remove the studs both here and there. If that happens, then I can just drop this straight down. Okay, I'm going to put a bolt back in the bottom one to hold while I take those out, because that'll be easier to deal with. And then that way I don't have to pull it forward and mess with it, because what I have going on right now is this hose right here is bumping into the radiator there and not allowing me to move this forward enough to get off those studs. Whoops. Right, that's that stud. They're the same length, so we shouldn't have to worry about which one goes where when it goes back in. And I got that last bolt out, so now this thing is completely free. Look at that. All right, so you see those things right there? Those got to come off. One's a clip and one's a bolt that's covered up by black plastics. We'll get those two things off, and then we'll take the nut out that's right there. And then we got two that are on the back side here, if you can see those, okay? So we're gonna take those two nuts off and it'll drop down. So if that drops down, I guess I could take those off first and then take this bolt off and then just slide it out. And I should be able to slide it through here. So it's a small enough alternator, we'll find out. You can always take the new one out of the box and try to fit it through there and see if that'll work. So in the moment, I'm going to put this AC compressor back up and out of the way for a minute, just so I can get to those nuts and deattach the electronics from the alternator. Well, good morning. It's the next day. Yeah, I gave up last night. My back was killing me. I was hungry. So I decided to, rather than get frustrated and, do something that would cause me more problems, I decided to give it a minute and let myself think and rest. Sometimes it's best to walk away and give yourself some time to process. Anyway, yeah, my allergies are pretty bad. My voice is a little bit lower, and that's just because I think I was snoring last night and things like that. And that's just, it's not sleep apnea. It's just, it's probably on the verge of it. It's just this time of year, the end of March, going into April, everything's blooming. Yeah. So, and people are starting fires, and it's not lightning strikes, it's people. And the wind shifts and it blows it towards us, and then it's just ugh. So anyway, got out here this morning. I'm just going to take my time, make sure it's done right, make sure my body's not screaming at me like when I was a mechanic, and make sure that I can still enjoy my life and do what I want to do. All right, guys, you got a pretty good view of the alternator right there. And hey, here's something that I just figured out. I didn't realize before because I was trying to figure out all this light stuff. Even though it's going to drain the battery quicker, my cell phone has this little option button there on Pro Video where you can turn the light on. Yeah, yeah, I know. I can hear all the comments right now. I'm learning as I go. Eventually, I'll get really good at this, and you guys be like, "Hey, remember when you sucked at this filming thing?" And I'm going to be like, "No, because I'm an egotistical guy that's always been perfect, right?" No, I'm not. I know. I like getting better at things. Makes life enjoyable. So. Oh, I got the AC compressor. What I decided to do is put it up there and put a bolt on it, so it's kind of helped support it. So when this drops down, it's just got something to help catch it. It's not finger loose just yet, so we'll just get our little mini wrench out here. Make sure that I'm going the direction I want to go by loosening. And get it up there to where the bolt is. And always try to get yourself in a comfortable position. Don't try to stretch and reach for things because that just makes it worse. So, okay. I thought that one was broken loose. What, the French toast? Okay, and I got plenty of room on that one, so I'll get a socket on there. The bolt just broke loose. Working it a little bit. Just trying to get it more loose to the point where I can start using the little wrench to take it the rest of the way out. Just in a tight area, so it just takes time. You just got to finagle it. There it goes. Okay, that should be good for the wrench now. All right, that alternator is now loose. All right, so here's our other bolt. Now we're going to match this up to the other one, keeping in mind that this is the one we just took out, right? So I want to make sure that they're both either the same length or I know which one needs to go where, but they're both the same length. So no matter, just throw them down. So now I'm going to drop the AC back down out this way, and I'm going to try to pull the alternator out this way. So this hose is a little giving, and that one is giving. So maybe I can dangle it through here or something. So we shall see. Now I got the alternator on top of this too, so I got to be cautious. There's that bolt for the AC compressor. See, there's like no room, so I'm not really worried about the alternator like crashing down on top of me. I mean, it's gonna make noise and it's gonna move around and whatever. So okay, AC compressor is down out of the way. Let's go back to the other place. Let's see if we can't get the alternator to squeeze out. So anywho, there I were in the movie theater, enjoying myself. And those drunk people come in and make a lot of noise, right? And loud, and everybody's just staring at them, and there's a pause button in a movie theater. We'd all just kind of like just sit there and look at them. But anyway, a few moments after they sit down, all of a sudden I hear gawk, 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 gawk. I'm like, I don't care if you want to drink or whatever, but it just makes you more obnoxious. It just amplifies your personality. And if you're already a jerk, you're going to be a bigger jerk. All right, so I think what I'm going to do here is there is a bolt on this hose here that's holding a bracket on right there. I'm going to loosen that up so this gets a little bit more play with it. I'm just going to kind of wedge that there so it's out of my way. wait, that's gonna tighten it. I want to go loose. All right, let's try this again. Yeah, I got that little bolt loose for the bracket, so. Can't tell if this is a bolt or not. I can't. It feels like a bolt. So as soon as I take it out, that should drop down. Come on. Big money, no whammy. There we go. All right, so we remember that. For that. How do you remember all this stuff? I just get used to it after a while, I guess. All right, so that gives us some play there. All right. I want to try to pry that out just a little bit more. I'm going to be gentle with some of these hoses. You don't want to pry on them too much. So that's it's giving me some play. Let's figure it out. There we go. That was it. So now alternator just kind of rolls out like this. Boom. Here is the bad alternator. Okay, so it's not spinning as freely as I'd like it to. It's not bad. There's no grinding and stuff like that. But oh, I'm doing that. It's really wiggly inside. It's really loose. That's no bueno. Yeah, everything on the back looks fine. It doesn't look like it's arced off or sparked or there's no black markings, and it doesn't smell. With a lot of times with these electronics, you can smell it, and you can smell like burning electronics. There's a mild scent just from normal wear and tear, but then there's a good significant potent smell that you'll smell that is a pretty good indicator that it's fried out and burnt. But now I'm looking down and then this, and yeah, there's the copper wirings that you can see inside here, and they look pretty corroded and whatnot. So I'm gonna say that this guy is definitely done. So we'll set it aside, and we'll get the new one, start installing it. Okay. So we got the old one here, and we got the new one. So one of the things you want to do is you want to match it up. You want to put them sitting the same exact way, and you want to match up. Okay. All right, that looks good. I don't know if you guys can really see this. Oh no, you can't. Okay, let me adjust your guys' view. Okay, so now we got the two alternators side by side and my knee in the way. So what we're looking at here is we want to match them up side by side. We want to match up certain things, not everything, but you want to make sure that it's pretty identical twin kind of deal. So obviously the new one is cleaner and it looks healthier. And you got the old one that looks beat up and corroded and dirty from wear and tear. It's just how it goes. That plug-in and that plug-in are the same. Where the bolt is and the bolt is the same, and it comes with its own bolt. But I kind of like this more stout one, so I may use that instead. I don't know. But so that's good. And then we look at the bottom bracket where it plugs into the vehicle, and that looks good there. We're going to look at the brackets up here, and now notice that this one has a smaller diameter and a larger diameter hole. Okay, that isn't really a big deal. Maybe that's just how they did it, but on this one, it is the same way. So you got smaller, bigger, smaller, bigger. So what does that mean? I'm not too sure. Maybe it just gives you a little play, and there's a reason they designed it like that, or they did that. But either way, if you look at the bolts that go into these areas, they're both the same diameter. Okay, so you just want to make sure that they are the same length here. So when the bolt comes out, there's the same amount of grip, which is good. So yeah, we're good. We're golden. Now, the other thing I want to look at is, like, you saw me spinning it. Like, I don't know if you can see how smoothly that turns versus. So yeah, this one's way smoother. I could do this, and there's no like in there. This one is really loose, really floppy in there, and I know you guys can't see that on the film here, but yeah, it's not good. So that thing's toast. It's just, we're done with it. So you can be rough with the old one when you're taking it out and let it drop or whatever, you know, because it's done. We're just trying to send it back as a core, right? Well, I don't think my brother's going to get a core on it, but he could try. As far as this one, then you can put it up in there. Now, back in the day, you used to take these things apart and rebuild all this yourself. So clean it up and rewind the wirings and just all sorts of, yeah. So now just about every mechanic, unfortunately, is just a diagnosis machine and a glorified parts exchanger. Because even like General Motors, when I was working for them and Honda, you know, they would be like, okay, yeah, there's a problem with that engine. Go ahead and pull the entire engine out. We'll send you a crate with a new engine in it. Put the new engine in, put the old engine in there, and then send the engine back to us. Like, yeah, but no, it's just an intake. You know, I can do that in probably like 30 minutes here. Nope, 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 just send it to us. Okay, but I understand why some companies are doing that, especially like Honda. They have an unmatched warranty, or did at one point in time, you know, or you know their cars would last forever. I'm gonna put you guys back up in the sky so you can see me install. Let's see, is that pretty good? You guys okay with that angle? Probably like right there. Okay, so they'll take that old engine, you know, or, you know, the one that we took out, or the transmission, or whatever it is, and they'll go ahead and they'll take it apart scientifically and reverse engineer and look for the problem and figure out what went wrong, where and how and why. And, they'll really dig into it, right? But yeah, yeah. So the AC is kind of blocking our mojo here. So, so now, let's see if we can get this back up in there. And try to remember how exactly what position it was in when I took it out, and I don't remember. So I'm trying to. Now you're going to scuff it up a little bit, and that's fine. It's not, doesn't need to be pretty. It just needs to do its job, right? That's how most of us show up to work. Hey, you're lucky I got in today. All right, so now we want the pulley side for the belt pointing towards us when we put it up there, right? So we're going to do that. Now, how do we hold it up and put those bolts in? I know you're asking that right now. Well, not easily. You got the two bolts that are going to go up top, right? You can maybe put those in and then try to line up the bottom one, or you can try to put the stud in there and hopefully that holds it while you put the top bolts in. Kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of another, right? You know, it's a 50-50 shot on however you do this, but either way, you got to try to support this alternator up there while you're trying to line up a bolt and get it in there without cross-threading it, and that's the trick of it, okay? So you want to get yourself in a comfortable position. You want to be able to get to where you can get around it pretty easily. For me, you know, this is a pretty good access point right here. I can pretty much reach everything pretty decently right here. Okay, so I'm going to try to fit my arm through here. And I'm going to try to put one of the top bolts in. And I know my face is kind of right here too, guys, but it's just going to have to deal with it. So do you guys want to see what's going on up here? Probably. So let me get the GoPro. Okay, so here we go. So this is where I'm going to try to fit into. You can see the alternator back there. And try to scrape some of this stuff out of the way so I'm not laying on it on my back. So now I'm going to try to squeeze under this whole thing like this. And there's the other camera there. You can see what I'm doing. Okay, so get myself to a spot where I'm not going to block view of certain things, but get you guys turned right side up here. And I forgot my flashlight, whatever. You can kind of see up there. It's going to be better with a flashlight. Hold on. This is the joy of filming. This is what it takes. You just got to deal with it, right? Yeah. Get an ab workout, which I am in sorely need of. Okay, so we are now back under here. Everybody say hello to everybody. There you go. All right, so Now, with my flashlight, you guys should be able to see, here's the alternator, right? And there's the top two bolts where it's got to go. And then the other bolt is right there. So AC compressor and everything. So I have to lift that up and hold it and try to get bolts in. So that's what I'm looking to do there. So just know that's what I'm doing, even though I don't have a camera showing you guys right now, but it's just going to be easier in the long run like this. So just trust me on this, please. So I'm going to stick this end in through here and come through here with the bolt. All right. So slide that up there. Let's go up there like that. Oh, I got wires in the way, little punks. Yeah, make sure you're not pinching wires into things, okay? So I'm trying not to bump you guys and be in the way here, but it's just got a situation. What is going on? Why? All right, look, the key here is cooperation. Keeping in mind not to piss me off. Is this supposed to go to what side is it? What? How? I don't. All right, I need to take a second. Guess I got crap that keeps getting in my way here. All right, so let's tuck those wires up behind something. So now, yeah, okay, so we're good, okay. So this isn't a fun fit, it's digging into my arm, and yeah. Okay, so, get the flashlight. So now you can see I got it up in its place. What I was struggling with is right there, the bracket. I can't remember which side was going on, and I couldn't really see that too well, but I figured out what was getting in my way was the oil dipstick, but I got the wires up out of the way. So yeah, I got that bolt in right there. You can see the tip of it. I don't know, maybe I can show you guys. There you go. So, alrighty. So now I'm gonna get the other bolt in from the side here in a more comfortable position, and then I'll get the bottom stud in, and we'll start bolting it in, and then we will, yeah, we'll get it going. We'll be good here to go. No time at all. No time. No time. No time. See, the main thing when you put something back on, try to get all the nuts and bolts on there and get them loose, and especially if it's a bolt. Try to get everything fitted on while the item is loose or the object is loose, so that way you can maneuver it back around to try to get a line up on the threads of the hole. Okay, once you can do that, then you can move on and start tightening everything down, and just be cognizant that everything's flush and tightening down, because if you try tightening something down and something's caught under something like a wire or hose or something like that, or it's at a bad angle, it's going to snap, especially aluminum. Like these alternators that I just showed you, they have aluminum housings, and you're going to tighten it into steel. So what's going to give out first? The aluminum, every time. That's why it's aluminum. That's why steel is steel. It's really strong. Iron and steel. So get the stud. Now this is a little off center in the hole down here, but don't worry about that. It's not, like I said, they're big holes on that, but you just want to, once you tighten everything down, there is going to be no rattling, okay? Because it's going to be snug up against everything. Okay, so I got that tightened down. So now I need the nut that went on the end of that, which is this guy here. Okay. Get my socket wrench. Thankfully, everything here was the same diameter. I do appreciate when engineers do that. Someone's going to have to work on this. Maybe we should make them all the same diameter. So all 13 millimeter. Same size, same dimensions, whatever you want to say there. Worst thing about this is when you're tightening things down and you don't have it squared up on the nut or bolt, and you try to push, and then all of a sudden it decides that it's going to pop off that. So make sure it's square, because if it's sitting at an angle or something and it pops off, you're going to go punch some iron, and that's not fun. Okay, my flashlight is way over there. I don't feel like grabbing it. So you can kind of see up there that the alternator is lit up there. You can see that it's in place. I got all the bolts looking good. That one's in place there. And I got the two up top. I don't know if you can kind of see them above the alternator there. I still have to plug the stuff into the back, but you can see there's something in my way. So as soon as I get this in place, then I'll do that. But I'm going to watch out for the wiring. I want to make sure that it's out of the way, which it is, and that I'm not going to clog it up somehow, or that I need to move it into place before I put the other items in, because it's nothing worse than realizing that you got everything in place, but you got wires routed the wrong way or something like that, and you have to take things back apart to be able to do that. Pain in the butt. Any whoosies. So we're going to get this AC compressor back in place and bolt it down. We're going to bolt down our little pipe right here. Then we're going to get the wirings in place and get them all latched. Then it's the serpentine belt, the splash shield for the alternator. Then it's a splash shield for this side. Then it's the inner fender well. Then it's a tire. Then it's putting it down, and we fire it up. Let the engines roll. Okay, so that's that guy. So now I've got my bolts are sitting right here, ready to go. So I can grab those in a minute. The biggest thing is your memory. Your memory is kind of against you on this thing. So trying to remember where everything goes and what order, that's where you want to take your time. That's when I start getting to that point. I'm like, if I get angry, I don't want to remember those moments. So I tend to block them out. So now I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna go calm down and cool down and rethink things, and that way my memory stays intact and I remember how things go. So trying to see right now, but I can't really tell. I think there we go, right there. I think we're good there. Oh, okay. All right. So here's what we got going on. You got the top bolts up there. The one I'm pointing the flash at right now was the pain in the butt one. So none of the hoses are damaged. We're all good to go. I got to tighten down the bottom ones and the top nuts up there, and the one behind the hoses there. So that's what we're doing on the AC compressor, just tightening that down, and then we'll plug in our wiring that's going to go right there and there. Okay, and then the other part of the wire clips into the AC compressor here. So, and that's the wires that are right back here. Okay, and I'll swing them back over here and do that. So notice that this is the exhaust right here. This is part of the catalytic converter system and everything too. So you don't want to be touching this if it just came off the road, man. Let it cool down for at least a good couple hours, man, and because that's going to burn the crap out of you, and it's going to melt anything you try to stick around it, like these wirings. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. Be cognizant of what's around when you're tightening down, because I'm going to pull. As I'm pulling, I may end up pulling against this tubing here, and I'll show you. So you can see where the ratchet is and where the tubing is for the refrigerant for the AC compressor. As I start to pull down, I come against that, but I'm trying to tighten. I'm not going to go any further than that. Okay, I'm actually going to back it off a couple clicks and get it reset, and then I'm gonna, because I don't want to bust that. And it's hard to tell when you're against the tubing, and it's hard to tell if you're still tightening the nut. So just be very aware of that kind of stuff. Okay. So if you see that, well, I just blocked my light by doing that. So if you see right there on the nut, so it has a little tab going off to the side, which locks into one of those slots right there. So you just want to make sure most wiring is just kind of set the way it's been, and with the engine heating up and cooling down, it just kind of makes that form. So it'll naturally want to go back into the same spot it was. And that's what this one did here. So now it's back in that same spot. I can just put that cover back on it. That's good to go. And I'll put the clip back in on the spot below it. And then I'll take this clip here. I'll clip it onto the AC over there. And don't forget to clip this little part right there back onto the hose. So that's that there. That buttons up things for the most part. So I'm going to kind of get the camera resituated so we can see me putting these splash shield right here back in. And then we need to put the tire well back in and then the tire. So, well, no. Hold. We're going to put the serpentine belt back on. Then we'll put the splash shield on, the tire well, and then the tire. Okay, you guys remember how this went? I do. Okay, so basically it looked like this, okay? So in our sand here, so if we have the crankshaft pulley, okay? And then over here we have the AC pulley, okay? And then we have the alternator right there, okay? We're gonna have idler pulley right there, okay? Then we're gonna have power steering over here, okay? Well, actually, no, that's incorrect. Yeah, no, that's right. So power steering is right there, okay? So then you're gonna have the tensioner pulley comes up and sits right about here. Okay, can kind of see the pattern already. So we're going to make a W down below and go straight across the top. Okay, so it's going to come. Let's just start at the crankshaft for giggles. So we're going to come up on the crankshaft and oh yeah, we forgot the water pump. Come on, gimbal stick, bear with me. So you got a water pump sitting in here too. Okay, so it's going to come around the crankshaft, over the water pump, under. It's like tying your shoes, or a tie, under the AC compressor, up above the alternator, going right across the top on the idler pulley, get over the power steering, and it's going to wrap around, and it's going to come down, and it's going to go over the top. It's going to make that U-turn here at the power steering, go over the top of the tensioner, and back under the crankshaft pulley. Okay, so that's pretty much how it's going to go. So it's going to look like this. Remember I said there's a diagram sticker that usually exists on most vehicles. It shows you where things go. Oh, look at that. That looks like a, well, pick an animal. It looks like that. I got the light on for you so you don't get scared of the dark. Okay, I got my serpentine belt here. What's the easiest way to do this? Well, let's just start by just draping it across the top 3 pulleys, right? And then we can start interworking it around the other ones, making the legs of the horsey or whatever we just drew there. And it's not a giraffe. It could be like a dog or a pig or whatever the hell animal floats your boat. Okay, so there's the idler pulley. I'm going to put it on that. I'm going to swing it over to, I'm doing this one-handed, by the way. This is how simple this is, okay? If you want to change your serpentine belt, this is it. And that's on this vehicle. On other vehicles, it's probably easier. It can be easier. Other vehicles, it can be really difficult. Like Volkswagen Beetles, yeah, those things can kiss my butt. Not the old school ones, the newer ones, the modern era ones. So, all right, so I've got it looped in around some things, right? And I'm going to come up, and I think I'm going to take it around the AC compressor down here. And the water pump's going to be my last place to go, okay? So you can see how I just can't get it up over the AC compressor, right? But I'm going to give some tension by finger, and I'm going to make sure this belt is on the ribs of everything it needs to be on properly where it should be, right? Okay, so it's perfectly lined there. It's perfectly lined there. It's perfectly lined on the crankshaft. We're going to go, I'll kind of leave it there for a second. I'm going to feel over here at the power steering. Oh, see, it was off kilter there. Now it's not. It's still, it's Now we're good. Now it's good there. And on the idler pulley, it'll be good once I apply tension. All right, so I'm going to hold it with that hand. Double check your double checks, man. Seems to be good everywhere else. On the idler pulley, that's in line. So the ribs need to fall right in the center and be right on par, okay? And on the smooth tensioner, it's there too. Okay, so now, while I'm holding this with this hand, I'm going to take this adapter so it doesn't fall out on me. I'm just going to get it lined up. So then all I have to do is take this guy and get him placed on there. Like so. And then I start bringing off the tension. And it slides right over that water pump, okay? You can let off easy, okay? Let the thing just kind of hang for a second. Now you're going to go double check your double checks. It's centered on the, and it'll kind of get itself on these smooth pulleys back into a proper place within a couple seconds of the engine running. So it is around the tensioner properly, is around the crank pulley properly, water pump is properly placed, a C, alternator, idler, and power steering. So that's that. We're done there. This guy right here, I'm going to use for the splash shield here, right? And then got my 2 bolts, okay? So we're going to go ahead and stick this back up. Which way did it go, George? Which way did it go? Okay. I look about right. Look good for everybody? Yeah, we're good. We're golden. Where's my push pin going? I just freaking had that thing. Where'd it go? No. Rolled away. It's like, no, I don't want to go. You're going. Sorry, not sorry. This will help hold it in place so I can come around and do those nuts. Boom. So I kind of dangle there. Now I can come around, put these 10mm nuts in. So that's going to plug up here. That's good to go, nice and solid. Now my little box of push pins here that I save over the years. There's a bunch of them in here. So I want to use ones like this, but the problem is I got to make sure that this diameter fits snugly in the hole, okay, of the part that's going to go in there. And then I need to make sure that the brim or the top hat part here will actually hold it on in place and won't slip through the hole or anything as the car drives down the road with vibration, you know, because we also have ones like this. So I may just mix and match, but anything will work. They're just push pins. So we're just going to find what works. We're going to go ahead and put them in there. I even have some of these Dorman ones like this, but these are not thick enough, I don't believe. That is, but it's a clip for a clip. All right, so anyway, we're going to work with this and we'll see what we can do, okay? Cool. All right. Got the tire ball, okay? So all we're going to do is just lift it back up into there, and we are going to wedge it back into the wedges that it was wedged into before. Okay. That's pretty much where it's set. So we'll fandangle that a little bit more as we go. But I'm going to get my initial screws started here. Come in. Come in. Easy, killer. Easy. Cooperation is the key to not ticking me off. You're not cooperating. You're still not cooperating. Okay, that's a little bit more like it. Get that one started. gonna get snug, but I'm not gonna tighten it down. All right. We're done. All right, guys. We're just gonna plug in the battery. Here's the positive. Okay. And go ahead and give that a little snug down. Okay. And then we got the negative. Now I'm going to be quick with this. I just want to touch it just to make sure I don't have anything arc off down there. So I'm going to wash it down by the alternator and do this. Okay. All right, so that's good to go. Okay, gents, we got our key right here. Get my pocket screwdriver back. All right, so first things first, I'm going to turn it to the on position. Okay, we can see the light up there. It's got all the different lights, but the check engine light stays illuminated. See that? It's going to start flashing through here. Low tire pressure, oil change due. The left front is on fire. You lost a wing. You lost your skier a mile back, and you know the McDonald's bag is empty, and just all that crap. So I'm going to plug in our OBD2 scanner here. No, did it do? Okay. Vehicle diagnostics. Domestic. Sure. Dodge. Grand Caravan. Sure. Okay. So it's just those misfires, right? So we're going to go back. And I'm going to erase codes. We know it's cylinder 2 that was misfiring, so we just keep that in mind. Are you sure you want to erase? Yes. Yep. All of them. Linker. Okay, so it doesn't, it will read the codes and tell me, but it can't erase them. So, but here's the thing. They'll probably erase on their own once it senses that there's no more issue. Okay, and I can explain that in detail after I'm done sneezing. Okay, quit it. Here's the moment of truth for now. Straighten out the wheels so that way you guys can see. So you got a cold and hot temperature here, the RPMs. You got your miles per hour and kilometers per hour in the red in the middle. And then you have your fuel, and there's no voltmeter, okay? So we could probably see that on the display here if we went through the display. Vehicle info. Let's see here. What do we got? Let's try vehicle info. Let's see what that does. Coolant temperature. Okay, that's good to know. Oil temperature. Yeah, has an oil temperature. That's pretty impressive. Oil pressure is here, so that's good. That's something that engine hours. So one thing we'll watch for is oil pressure to come up too. So, but no voltmeter still. What in the world, people? I mean, you're going to have oil temperature, but you're not going to have a voltmeter. Whatever. So, okay. So we're going to go ahead and start it up now and see what happens. All right. Heard no loud pops. There was no alternator blowing off of this thing or anything like that. So now The check engine light went away. Weird, huh? Okay, so when it senses things have corrected, then it goes back to normal. Okay, so we got the 12.48 volts while it's off. So now I'm going to start the vehicle and we're going to see what we got while it's running. So now I'm going to test it and we'll see what we got. Look at that, 14 volts. Looks like that alternator is finally working. One more thing before we go driving out here and shut the hood and all that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to torque down the wheel lug nuts. I looked them up. They're 100 foot-pounds of torque, okay? So you get your mega torque wrench here. You can get them at any, like Harbor Freight or anywhere that sells automotive tools like this. So I'm going to set this one to 100 foot-pounds. It's hard to read, so bear with me. All right, I have this set to 100 foot-pounds. That's good. Again, that star pattern, top to bottom, left to right. We're good there. We're good there. We're good there. That one needed a little bit more, but now it's good. Also, with your torque wrenches, when you're done with them, as soon as you're done with them, put them back to 0, okay? Because that releases the tension. If you keep that tension on there, it kind of relaxes, and then you don't get proper torque. All right, guys, we're back here in the humble little old shop of horrors here. So anyway, 2017 Dodge Grand Caravan minivan. It's got some issues already with it. So one of the side doors doesn't seem to want to open or close, and I can't figure that out. Doesn't want to open or close from the inside or the outside, or the button or the key fob, or it's just dead. There's probably a fuse gone on there, but that's a chore for maybe someone else, maybe some other day. So what I have done is I double checked the oil. The oil's good and on par. I got good oil pressure. I just went down the street and back. When I got back, I had to check some things because the brake light came on halfway down there, was screaming at me. The tire light was screaming at me. And then I also knew that there were some other fluids that needed to be topped off. So I think we're good. Anyway, I'm going to go for a longer test drive now, and I'm going to test it out and find out for sure. So, but we got a new battery, got a new alternator. They're doing fine. I tested the voltages when I came back in amperage and put a load test on the alternator. Dude, it's totally good. And the battery was, if you remember, was at 12.48 volts when I first started it up here. When I got back from just that little scoot down the street a few blocks and turned around on the street and came back, this battery is now at 12.98 volts. So, yeah, so it's doing what it should be doing. It's functioning now. This thing stinks to high hell because and the misfire went away in just that short little jaunt. It's just got a tiny little hiccup now, and that's because it's burning out all the carbon and all the soot and all the bad gas and things like that. The injector's opening back up, lifters and valves are starting to open back up and do their thing. So I'm going to go on a longer drive now, see if I can't get it to warm up even more and drive even smoother. But it already had a ton of torque. I checked the air pressures and all the tires because that thing was screaming at me. The check engine lights will correct themselves if the problem it's sensing corrects. So in other words, if there's just a misfire from like bad gas and stuff like that, it depends on manufacturer and year and all that jazz. The stipulations are, but so many miles down the road, for so long, and the temperature has to be above a certain RPM at a certain temperature or above a certain temperature. Everything else has to be okay. The voltages and stuff have to be good, and then it has to do 3 ignition cycles like that before it says, okay, looks like we're all cleared up, and it goes away. It just depends on who sets what for criteria. Past that, that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go take this thing for a longer test drive, and I'll get back with you guys after I get back from that, and we'll see where we stand. But I'm thinking after that, we should just be able to call up my brother and say, hey, come get this thing out of my driveway. It's good to go. All right, guys. Well, I just got back from the test drive. Everything went swimmingly. So the van itself ran great. It's going to need an alignment, that's for sure. It wants to pull. You barely touch the steering wheel and it's just like fit, fit. So it tells me it's got a little bit of a toe end camber issue, and there's a lot of tire wear on the front tires too. So probably need some front tires, an alignment. Probably need to replace the rear pads on the brakes on the rear. Past that, I didn't see any other issues. So I'm not seeing any overheating issues. The oil stayed nice and cool, and the coolant stayed nice and cool, especially when I was going straight up the hill. I got turned on the AC when I got back, and the AC is blowing nice and cold. Let's see what else here. Tire light went out, brake light went out. The engine light's still on, but it's running a lot smoother. I put a couple bucks of high octane in there before I headed up the hill because it was on fumes. It didn't have much, which is a good thing when you have vehicles been sitting around for a while and all that bad gas. So I went ahead and I threw some of that in there just to do my test drive and everything. So, and yeah, I think it cleared a lot of the stuff out. I got up to the top of the hill and it was it had a pretty foul stench to it. Not like rotten eggs, like the catalytic converter's going bad, but it had like a bad gas. It was burning out thing. And it seemed to be opening up some injectors and cleaning up some spark plugs and some valves and stuff so it could fire better. What does all that mean? I can explain that later on in the video. But we're going to call this one a success. Everything went swimmingly. Couple hiccups here and there, and it took a while because I'm trying to record at the same time, and that's a learning curve itself. So if you guys want to see more of this, then let me know. I'm going to put out more videos of me working on things. I got a lawnmower I got to start working on and getting ready for the season. Yeah, as far as you guys have any questions, have any tips, tricks yourself, you want to share anything with not just me, but everybody out there, yeah, let's share it for the whole world. Let's make it a good, better deal for everybody. So put it all down below in the comments. You know, if you like this video, hit the like button, please. I'd appreciate it. And I'll give it a subscribe too, you know, because I'm going to be doing different things, so it's not always going to be the same thing. If you like one video in particular, you know, you guys start letting me know what you like to see me do, and I'll make those a playlist in the album there, and that way, you know, you guys can watch for those. So I'll start making, you know, the videos that people like more, a more regular thing, and do the other ones as a little side hobby. So all right, well, that's it for now. I'm going to clean up my garage. I'm going to move the little Z back in here. I'm going to move the motorcycle back in here, and then I'm going to go take a shower and eat a burger and drink some ice cold water because it's been a long couple of days. So all right, thanks for watching, guys. As always, I'm Sean. This is 369 VPN or VNP. Yeah, you can tell I'm tired, right? And yeah, have a good one, guys. We'll see you later.